Okay, great. So again, this is for the few people that just came on. This is the webinar for post-op surgery diet for Mexico Bariatric Center. And just for time, so you guys know, in the question box as I'm talking, feel free to ask questions. I don't want you guys to think I'm ignoring you, but for time's sake, I really want to be mindful of your time and keep it to 1 hour at the most. So I do not answer. You can go ahead and type your questions up and I will answer the questions at the end. A lot of times you may have a question and you'll find by the end of the presentation I've already answered it. So just go ahead and ask your questions and I'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Prudence Ticknor. I'm one of the dietitians here at MBC. You guys may have been working with Kelly. She's another dietitian as well. And just a little bit about me. I have my master's degree in nutrition. I'm also a certified health coach. I've actually specialized in bariatrics for 12 years now. I'm a certified NLP practitioner. That's neuro-linguistic programming. That looks more at the mind-body connection. It basically is a ton of tools to assist people with like that have binge eating or emotional eating or food addiction to address the mental aspect of change. I did not have bariatric surgery. A lot of people ask me that, but I have lost I think over 80 pounds actually now. Go ahead, if you guys do not have my contact information, you can write it down. It's prudence@sources.com. Feel free to email me anytime. And again, for those of you that have been interacting with Kelly, go ahead and continue to send her questions as well, for those of you that already have a good rapport with her. So let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is vitamins. There's so many things that are affected with surgery. You have to understand that with surgery, it doesn't matter what surgery you have. You're basically going from the size of a flattened football to the size of your thumb, and it expands out to the size of a small egg. And just if it's sleeve, it's just you take that egg and you elongate it so it looks more like a banana shape. So especially for the first year or two, everybody's different. I mean, you'll see if you're already a part of the Facebook support page, people are, you know, saying they can barely get any food in. And that does change over time, but you have to remember you're starting off with that thumb, and it does slowly stretch to a small egg. So if you're not taking proper vitamins and because you just can't get it through food to begin with. Over time you can, but I'd say that's a good year or more out. So it's really easy to get deficiencies if you're not taking proper vitamins. And I just tell people it's just like somebody who gets pregnant. They stop taking regular vitamins and they take prenatal. And it's going to be the same for you guys. You guys are bariatric patients, so you need to take bariatric specific vitamins. Some of the things, muscle loss, fatigue, I mean, just your overall well-being. A lot of times you'll see on the Facebook page, you'll hear people talking about they're so exhausted, they don't have the energy. Hair loss is a big thing. You can get cracked and dried skin. Osteoporosis is a big one. And, you know, this is like a silent disease because there's no way of knowing you have it unless you're getting tested. And the thing with osteoporosis is it's not reversible. So whatever stage of osteoporosis you have, you can stop it from progressing, but you can't go back. And so you just want to really be mindful of your supplements. Weakness, nerve damage, and again, with B12 deficiency, nerve damage can come, and you can, again, you don't know it until it's too late. So I will tell you one of the things that's recommended, it's not on here, but you might want to write this down, is for the first year, you really want to get with your primary care physician and get your blood work done 3, 6, 9 months in 1 year. So basically every 3 months. And because you want to stay on top of deficiencies, you want to, like, again, like I mentioned with, nerve damage or osteoporosis, a lot of that is, especially with osteoporosis, it's not reversible. So you can stop it from progressing. So if you stay on top of it, so the recommendation again is 3, 6, 9, and 12 months for the first year, and then you can go back to regular follow-ups. But I highly recommend that you do that, and that you get a high quality vitamin. So, preferably bariatric specific. And I tell people there's a bunch of different bariatric vitamins out there, because I've been in this industry for so long and worked with so many patients. There's a few things. You guys really care about taste because your vitamins are chewable. So you want something that tastes good. And this isn't a Prudence opinion, but just by working with so many people, the top 2 favorite vitamins are Bariatric Advantage and Celebrate, as far as taste is concerned. And then the next thing you look at is, well, from my perspective, being a dietitian, is what's going to be the healthiest thing for you guys to take. As far as what's in it, they're the same. So, you want something that you can eat, or you can chew, and that's not going to gag you. And then from my perspective, I want you to have the healthiest vitamin that's out there. If most of you already know, especially if you're on the Facebook support page, that I'm very anti-sugar substitutes and chemicals. So we looked at the top 2 favorites from patients, which is Bariatric Advantage and Celebrate, and then I looked at what's the healthiest option. And so we sell an entire package for you guys. You get everything that you need other than the probiotic, which I highly recommend that you take advantage of, because you don't have to worry about it. It just comes and you're getting everything you need. But Celebrate does not use any sugar substitutes, and it has a lot less chemicals than the other. So that's why we went with Celebrate. So talking about deficiencies, B12 deficiency, so mostly it's with gastric bypass. Some sleeve patients have it, but you need what's called intrinsic factor for B12 to be absorbed. And after surgery, you don't have it with gastric bypass, or with sleeve, you could have less of it, because the part of the stomach that secretes intrinsic factor, that's the part of the stomach that's removed. So you cannot absorb B12 without intrinsic factor if you take it in pill format. So let's say you're looking at your multivitamin, you say, oh, well, my multivitamin has B12 in it. Well, you're not absorbing it. You need to actually take it either 3 ways. You can get sublingual, that's the one that melts underneath the tongue. You can get injections, or you can get a nasal spray, but you have to do one of those 3 forms. Iron deficiency, the same part, with surgery and where iron is absorbed, it's bypassed. So again, this is mostly with gastric bypass patients. If you're having sleeve, then you do not need an additional iron supplement unless you are already anemic. If you're already anemic and you're taking iron, then you would continue to take iron. But if you're not, then you don't need additional iron unless you're a gastric bypass patient. Calcium, you just have to look at the type. There's calcium carbonate and then there's calcium citrate. You want to make sure that you're taking in calcium citrate. Calcium carbonate, you don't absorb. So you're taking a vitamin that's totally getting wasted, and your calcium is very, very important. And for a lot of you, it's really hard to swallow the first 6 months to a year. A lot of people, they can't swallow pills, so that's where the chewables come into place. Or what's really great is if you get the if it's a bariatric specific vitamin, they're in really, really tiny capsules, not anything you could find just on the shelves. So if it is in capsule form, it's super tiny, easy to swallow, and then the rest of them are in chewable form, which makes it really nice for you guys. This is what's required. So you need your bariatric specific multivitamin. Um, you need calcium citrate. You need a minimum of 1,500 milligrams a day. What's really great about the bariatric specific ones is they come in 500 milligrams. So you just take one with your lunch or with each meal every day. You need vitamin D3. Again, what's really nice with some of the bariatric specific vitamins is the D3 is right in with the calcium, so that's one less pill you have to take or one less chewable. You need 2,000 units minimally. Some doctors, like again, if you're already on D3 and your doctor's recommended 5,000, sometimes 10,000 units a day, you would stick with that. The minimum is 2,000, but if you are already on a prescribed vitamin D3 and it's more than that, continue to take what your doctor's prescribed. B12, again, B12 needs to be sublingual, 500 micrograms. B1, this one, it's an energy. A lot of people are deficient. The only way you can find 100 milligrams is in a bariatric specific vitamin. You may want to wait and see at your 3-month testing to see where you're at, to see if your doctor tells you need to have thiamine, but it does help with energy. So B1 with B12 definitely helps your energy increase. And then a digestive enzyme. I already talked about probiotics in the pre-op webinar. Probiotics are just so helpful, just overall. It's probably one of the best supplements you can take. The digestive enzyme helps you break down food. So a lot of times, especially if you're on the Facebook support page, you can see people having a hard time saying food just feels like it's sitting there and then they don't feel like they can eat. That's because you guys do not have the digestive enzymes you used to have. They're either bypassed or they're cut out with a sleeve. So you need help. I mean, that part of the stomach that was cut out was secreting digestive enzymes that you just don't have anymore, or you have a lot less of them. So you want some sort of digestive enzyme to help break down the food. Okay, so the actual phases after surgery. I will tell you, this 5 to 7 days, it is a guideline. There is no such thing as a cookie cutter diet. Each one of you is different. And again, I highly encourage you to get on the Facebook support page if you're not already on it, but you're going to see from 0 to 100, you're going to see people that can't keep anything down, they can barely keep liquids down, forget about food, to the person that says they can eat everything and feels like they didn't even have surgery. Because there's such a, it depends on how healthy you are. It depends on how much you followed the pre-op diet, whether you took the probiotics, whether you followed the pre-op diet or you did that Last Supper syndrome and ate a high-fat, high-sugar diet. There's so many things that come into place. How healthy just your stomach and your gut was prior to surgery. And then just different people can handle different levels of uncomfortability. So there's so many factors that come into play. And because of that, you have to remember to listen to your body. There's no better expert than you. So, so you have to say to yourself, where am I at? So this 5 to 7 days may change. If you're let's say you're at 9 days and you can barely get your liquids in, are you moving to the next phase? Probably not. You might be at 4 days and say, oh my God, I'm starving, and your body's telling you it's ready for the next phase. Then move to the next phase. Definitely listen to your body. So clear liquids is basically anything that's transparent, what you can see through, basically what you had the 2 days before surgery. You're not going to feel like drinking. It's going to be very important for you. Your goal is 64 ounces, but to prevent dehydration. So the phases have a purpose. So phase 1, which is clear liquids, is to rest and hydrate. You just had this huge surgery. We want the body to rest, but we need you to stay hydrated. That's the purpose of phase 1. So to prevent dehydration, you need at least 48 ounces of fluid. So that's kind of your minimum requirements. And you just sip on foods. I will tell you, doing either warm fluids or room temperature. So any water bottles or any juices, anything you bought, do not put it in the refrigerator. Keep it sitting out somewhere, because warm, and I would encourage you after surgery to get in the habit of drinking, warm lemon water or herbal teas or a broth first thing in the morning, and pretty much maybe every 2 hours drink something warm, because warm fluids helps relax your stomach muscles. The more your stomach muscles are relaxed, the easier it is going to be for you to stay hydrated. Anything extreme, especially cold fluids, will tighten your muscles up, tense them up, again, not causing you to not want to drink. But you can do any type of juices. If you're having gastric bypass, you do have to be careful, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. You have to have less than 15 carbs per serving of whatever you're doing. So, or per time you eat something. So you have to be careful of that. But just in general, overall, I would say do that for everybody. You don't, even if you're having sleep, you might not get physically sick, but you really don't need more than 15 grams of carbs in one sitting. So what does that mean? If you're going to drink a juice, then, if you're going to drink regular juice, water it down. Look at the food, look at your label and see how many grams of sugar it has. If it has 30 grams, then you can do 50-50. If it has 40 grams, maybe you're doing 60-40, where you're watering it down. Any broth you want, pretty much anything that's transparent. You can do Jello popsicles on this phase. If it's transparent, you can see through it, then it's considered a clear liquid. So water, like I said, broth, vitamin water. The reason I say that is because it's sweetened with stevia, not sugar substitutes. Life water, the Sobe Life Water is the same thing. It's sweetened with stevia. Herbal teas, Jello popsicles. I already talked about that. You want to make sure no carbonation whatsoever. So no carbonated water, nothing that has bubbles in it. And we talked about the dilution of the juices and stuff. And just remember, the goal of this is to rest and hydrate. Now, some people are big on these clear liquid proteins. One, I just told you your body needs to rest. Anytime you put, so if you're putting protein in your body has to work to break that down. So we want to really minimize what goes into your body at this phase. It's not, some people say they feel hungry and it helps them, but you do not need protein on this phase. And the other thing is, clear liquid proteins are loaded with chemicals, just loaded with chemicals. So they're not really that healthy for you either. So just something to think about. So these are transparent. You can see, again, it's not completely clear, but if you put your hand on the other side, like I can see the table through this. I love this zero. Is this the vitamin water? Yeah. So this is, sweetened with stevia. Honest Kids doesn't have any sugar substitutes. It doesn't have any sugar alternatives. It's just very low in sugar. So if you can find Honest Kids, that's something great to buy, because it only has 10 grams of sugar per 8 ounces, which is great. So you don't have to worry about watering it down or anything. So that's probably the best juice to buy. Okay, so phase 1 is clear liquids, resting and hydrating. The next phase is phase 2, which we consider thick liquids, and somewhere between 5 and 7 days when you start, and you go all the way up to 14 days. So another week. So basically a week at a time. But remember, it can be sooner or later depending on your specific needs and how you feel. That's the best indicator. And I will tell you guys a few things. This is being recorded, and I highly recommend that you guys, if you're not already a member of the YouTube station, go to YouTube and search Mexico Bariatric Center. We have a station, and join the group, because, or become a member, or whatever it is you do. Because that way any new videos that are posted, you'll get them sent right to your email, so you won't miss anything. Nathan also posts them on Facebook, usually once or twice, so it's easy to miss. And then he also emails everybody with the information. But your best bet is just to join the Mexico Bariatric station. The other thing you guys can do is there are a bunch of videos. So if you go to the Mexico Bariatric website, you scroll all the way to the bottom. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a little link at the very bottom that says support. If you click on that link and then scroll all the way to the bottom of that page, you'll see all the video options. There's pre-op, there's each phase of the post-op, there's hair loss, there's 1 month and beyond. There's a bunch of videos that go through each phase. So I'm giving you all the information at one time today. What's really great is those videos are broke up into clear liquids, and then I go into thick liquids. I go into each phase separately, so when you're on that phase, you can just focus on what you need to focus on. And I'm talking similarly about the same things, but I might go into more detail in certain areas. So I would recommend watching those videos as well. So phase two, what you're doing is protein. Phase one is rest and hydration. Phase two, now you're hydrating, continuing to work on getting up to 64 ounces, and you're also working on protein. So with phase two, the minimum goal is 60 grams of protein. That's the minimum. So if you can't do anything else, you really want to work at getting to 60 grams. If you want to know your exact amount, what you do is you take your ideal weight. So let's say you want to weigh, 200 pounds. So that's your ideal weight, and then you divide that by 2.2. That's how many grams of protein you need. So a minimum of 60, but ideally go ahead and take your ideal weight, divide by 2.2, and that's going to give you what you need. Usually it's somewhere between 60 and 90 grams, depending on your height and where you're trying to go. Just like the protein powders, I tell you, you want a minimum of 20 grams. It goes the same way for your food. You're really shooting. So remember, long term, in the bigger picture, you're eating 3 meals a day at 6 ounces of food. 3 of those 6 ounces is protein, which is going to give you about 20 grams. And then you're doing 1 protein shake. So you can get 60 grams of protein, 20, 40, 60 in your 3 meals, and then you're either doing a protein bar or a protein shake a day. So that's where you're going to get your additional protein. If you're not doing a shake or a bar, you're not going to be able to get that extra in. That's long term. This phase, you're drinking your protein, so it's not a big deal. So you choose a protein supplement. I go over this in the pre-op webinar. It has to be at least 20 grams of protein. Has to have half that in sugar. So if your protein powder has 20 grams of protein, then it needs to have less than 10 grams of sugar. If you start, some people don't like the taste of protein powder, so I tell them to use plain Greek yogurt. If you're somebody you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't. Protein powder makes me gag, which I hear that from some people. Use plain Greek yogurt. And then what you do is you make your smoothie by adding frozen berries, adding unsweetened almond milk. You can add the Barlene swirl, but you can't get that amount of protein anywhere else other than plain Greek, and it needs to be Greek, because plain Greek yogurt has only 7 grams of sugar and like 22 grams of protein, where most of your yogurts have about 12 grams of protein and a lot of sugar. So some good ones are Chobani and Fage Greek yogurts. Uh, they're very similar. Neither one of them use the bovine. The yogurt comes from milk that's from cows that are not fed the bovine growth hormone. There's other ones out there you just need to read. Again, I mean it has a lot. If you're getting like the cheapest version you can find, there's a reason for that. It's because it's got a lot of chemicals. The cows have been treated with the bovine growth hormone, and that these things all affect your weight. And because you're eating such a small amount, you can choose the healthier options that may be a bit more expensive because you're eating such a minimal amount. This is the phase that you start your vitamins. Now, a lot of people make mistakes with this. They're like, the day they start thick liquids is the same day they start vitamins. You don't want to do that. Bariatric vitamins are very strong. You need to be on thick liquids 2 to 3 days before you start your vitamins. Let's get some substance in your body. Let's get some nutrients to help so you don't feel physically sick. And what I recommend to people is start with just the multi. Do a day, see how you do in the multi. If you don't like taking it, which some people don't, it's such a specific, an individual preference, you can go ahead and throw that in the blender with your protein shake and blend it up and drink it in your shake. That's totally fine. So start with your multi and then start adding in the calcium. And pretty much what it's going to be is remember, it's even if you're drinking your food to begin with on thick liquids, it's still try to do three meals in one shake. So basically it's going to be at least 4 meals a day. So with your first liquid protein, you do your multivitamin, and then you start to add like your B12 and your energy. So your B12, your B1, and your calcium. Your B1, your B12, and your multivitamin take first thing in the morning because that's your energy. And then with your next 3 meals, you do your calcium with vitamin D3. That's how you're going to do that to keep it simple. What else do I want to say? Begin your vitamin. Oh, and avoid using straws. The reason for this is you got to remember your pouch is really small and it takes time to get used to that. So just getting food in you is hard enough. We don't want anything that's going to create irritation. So when you use a straw, you suck in air, and that causes you to bring in air to your stomach, causes you to have gas, causes you to feel uncomfortable, and when you feel uncomfortable, then you don't want to eat. So do you have to do this for the rest of your life? No, but for the first 6 months, yes, maybe even the first year, you don't want to use a straw when you're drinking because you just take in too much air. So phase 2 is thick liquids. Of course, you can still keep with all the regular clear liquids, but basically this is like soups. This is where you can start to add soups. Be mindful of things that, like your creamy potato soups, things like that are high in fat and really don't have that much protein. You really want to choose soups that have good amount of protein. Usually are broth based. And if you get something that's hearty that has more meat in it, or you want to make your own, I know a lot of people that have crock pots, they just make their own soup. Just blend it up. If you want to make your homemade chicken soup, you just blend it up in a blender so you don't have to chew on anything. You do your protein shakes. Like I said, you can add, if you don't want to use protein powder, you can add tofu. You can add the Greek yogurt. Those are other forms of protein that you can get your protein in and not use a protein powder. What else? if you liquefy the yogurt, it's fine. Basically, you're looking at things that you don't want to use a straw, but it's got to be the consistency that can go through a straw. So even on this phase, if you want to start adding like the protein oatmeals, that's fine. You just got to liquefy it. So this is where you can add the unsweetened vanilla almond milk to your oatmeal, and as long as it's liquefied and it's the consistency that can go through a straw, you're fine. Shakes, I already talked about. Soups, you can add the great thing about unflavored protein is that you can add it to things. So I am going to tell you, so let's say you want a tomato soup. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that I see some people doing that on pre-op or post-op early on, because tomato soup is really acidic, so it's probably not the best option, but I do see quite often people using tomato soup. Again, everybody's different. But if you had choosing a soup that doesn't have a lot of protein, what you would do is take a little bit of unsweetened vanilla almond milk or plain almond milk. It doesn't need to be vanilla, but unsweetened, and put your protein. So you would cook your soup, get that nice and hot, just take a small amount of the almond milk, put your protein, scoop of protein powder in there, mix it up so it dissolves, and then put that in your hot soup. If you put protein powder right in a hot item, it's going to clump up. It's going to get clumpy, and you're not going to like it. So you need to dissolve it in something that's already at room temperature. Let it dissolve in that, then add it to whatever hot item you're using. You can do sugar-free puddings at this phase too. Again, you got to remember a lot of chemicals, zero nutritional value whatsoever. So if you're the person that says, oh, I barely can get my shakes in, I'm barely getting in 20 grams of protein a day, you absolutely should not be eating pudding or jellos or popsicles, because there's no value to those. But if you're easily eating, drinking your shakes, getting your 60 grams of protein, getting your hydration, and you feel like, gosh, I just need something, then yes, it's fine to add a pudding or a popsicle, something like that in. Okay, so moving on to phase 3. Remember, phase 1 is rest and hydration. Phase 2, you are working on your protein. Phase 3 is when you go to soft solids, you are working on calories. So once you can stay hydrated, once you're getting your protein in, whatever that is, a minimum of 60 grams, then you work on increasing your calories. What you'll find is a lot of you will only be doing 300-400 calories a day. Mentally, this is very weird for you guys. You have spent your whole life trying not to eat, and now it's the complete opposite. It's a 180 degrees difference. And so it's now you're like, you don't feel like eating, you don't want to eat, and we're saying you need to eat more. And so it's very weird for you to experience it. But if your calories are too low, that puts your body in what we call a catabolic state. You go into what's called starvation mode, and your body will fight you. So plateaus, you'll see people constantly freaking out on Facebook. Oh, I'm in a plateau. Plateaus are a part of the journey. Accept them. But you can minimize the number of plateaus you have. You can minimize the time frame of the plateau by making sure you get in the calories that you need. So phase 1, hydration. Phase 2, protein. Phase 3, you slowly work on calories. It might take you a month or two to get up to 800 calories, maybe even longer, but you got to work at it. That's the important thing, that you know that your goal is to get up to 800 calories. So at this phase, this is where you start weighing your food. If you do not already have a scale, get one. I have two. I have this one. I mean, I bought this mainly because I work with bariatric patients. I personally do not take this out with me, but I recommend that you guys do if you're going to eat out. It's really small. It's called a pocket digital scale, and then I have a bigger one that I have always sitting on my counter. And I mean, I even weigh my food. So I highly recommend that you start weighing your food, especially your protein. Like I want to know that I'm getting my 4 ounces of protein when I eat because it does make a difference. Um, but the pocket digital scale is nice because the lid, you can put your food right on the lid here and then you put it on the scale. So when you go out to a restaurant, now over time, you guys will be able to eyeball most stuff. You'll know over time that like, oh, if I eat a Greek yogurt, a half a cup is 4 ounces or 6 ounces, or so you'll know. But to begin with, you need to weigh all your food. So phase 3 is when you start weighing. You do not weigh prior to. A lot of times people think they have to have only 6 ounces of fluids. You can have as many fluids as you want in phase 2 or any phase. Fluids, you drink as much as you want. So if you're somebody who wants a bigger liquid shake because it fills you up more, that's totally fine. That you want to play around with to know what you can take in. If you're making this huge shake and you can only drink half of it, then that's a problem. So you want to find out, okay, how much can I take in? I can drink 4 ounces at a time. If you can drink 4 ounces, then your shakes need to be around 4 ounces because you want to get all that fluid in. You want to get the nutrients in. But as time goes on, you might want to make your shakes bigger. Phase 3, we're working on calories and we are weighing our food. Now, remember, I said that the goal was 6 ounces. You are not going to be at 6 ounces right away. I have people at phase 3 that can barely eat an ounce at a time. So you have to think through this. So if the recommendation is 6 ounces of food, and really minimally you want 3 ounces minimally, but your goal is 6 ounces per meal 3 times a day. If you can only eat 1 to 2 ounces per meal, you're eating 6 times a day. You want to be eating, so for an example, one scrambled egg is 1 ounce. 1 ounce is not very much. So it's probably about 3 bites of food. So if you're only doing an ounce or two, you want to, again, you're not going to feel like eating, but you need to eat about every 1 to 2 hours until you can get up to, your first goal is probably trying to work on 3 ounces, and that's your protein. So, and then you start adding the fat and the variety in after you can get up to 4 ounces of food. But a lot of people think they have to get to 6 ounces right away. That's not going to happen. It's going to take time. It's going to take a couple of months probably to get to 6 ounces. But again, if you eat 6 ounces early on, that's a great thing. Don't feel like something's wrong with you. Everybody is different. So we already talked about this. The recommendation is 4 ounces of food. It's basically the size of a deck of cards, the palm of your hands. Is 3 to 4 ounces of food, but you want to weigh it. That's the bottom line, is to weigh your food. So phase 3 is somewhere between 16 and 30 days. And this is where you start to implement, because prior to phase 3, everything is liquid, so it doesn't matter. But you got to incorporate that 30-20-30 rule. 30 minutes before you eat, no fluids. The 20 minutes while you're eating, and then the 30 minutes afterwards. The soft solids is to gradually get you used to eating, chewing on food. So this one says eat 3 meals a day, but remember, if you're only eating 1 ounce, it needs to go up to 6 meals a day. So it really depends on how many ounces you can get in one meal. The other thing too is you guys are used to being on diets and you're used to doing everything fat-free, low-fat. Stop that. Because your intake is so minimal, and remember I said you need the calories. How you can get your calories to 800 is doing the real deal. So you want whole fat food. So instead of buying non-fat yogurt, you buy the regular yogurt. Instead of buying non-fat cottage cheese, you buy the 4% cottage cheese. You want the regular stuff. And the other thing, the fat's going to help you stay satisfied longer, but also if you're eating low-fat products, they're usually higher in sugar. If you take out the fat, they add sugar and more sodium. If you take out the sugar, they usually add more fat. So there's going to be something added in it. I'd rather you have fat than sugar. So stop buying non-fat products. Just use the regular ones. Even with dressings and stuff, it's fine. Oils, like you making your salad dressings with, some oils, because you need that healthy fat in your body. Okay, so things that are included in soft solids, again, everything on clear liquids, everything on thick liquids, you can continue to do. This is where you're doing 3 meals and 1 shake a day, even at this phase, or 6 meals in 1 shake to get that protein in. But scrambled eggs, your cottage cheese, ricotta cheese, beans, pureed beans, refried beans, you can do string cheese, but definitely string it, soft tofu, your yogurts, any of your canned meats like chicken, tuna, you can do, they have salmon in a can, any of your soft fishes. So basically any meat that you can take a fork and mush it. If you can do that, then that's considered a soft solid. Now, you can't take a hamburger and mush it. You can't take a steak and mush it. So if you can take a fork and mush it down by itself, then that's a soft solid and you can do that. And then you might want to add mayo. Mayo doesn't have any sugar in it. Or you may want to add the non-fat Greek yogurt. That's what I use to moisten it. Maybe make a chicken salad or egg salad. So this is what it might look like. Again, our first goal, remember I said, is 4 ounces. So breakfast, so 1 scrambled egg is 1.5 ounces. So 2 eggs is 3 ounces, and then a 1 ounce, most of your cheeses are in 1 ounces. So that could be breakfast. Lunch, 1/2 cup of refried beans is it's going to be somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 cup, depending on the beans you're using. And 1 ounce of cheese is 4 ounces. And then dinner, you might do 1/2 cup of cottage cheese again, somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 cup, and 1 ounce of applesauce. And then your snack or your 4th meal is going to be that protein shake. So this provides 20 grams of protein, 12 in your eggs, 8 in your 1 ounce of cheese. This provides not as much. This provides 13 grams, this lunch, because beans are only 7 grams per 1/2 cup. Your cheese is 8. And then your dinner is going to provide, again, 14 grams. So, yeah, 1/2 cup is 14 grams of protein. So what might you want to do? Remember, the goal is 20 grams. So your breakfast is fine, but your dinner, you're only getting in, you need another, 6 grams. So you can put in 1/2 scoop of your unflavored protein isolate to get that in. Or you can make it up. Instead of making a 20-gram protein shake, maybe you make a 30-gram protein shake. Because remember, your first goal is 60 grams. So you got to play around with it. But this would be kind of an ideal to start with. Now, you might find you can only eat half of this. And that's fine. You make it up. You eat half. 2 hours later, you eat the other half. Then you have lunch. You can only eat half of it. Again, in 2 hours, you eat the other half. So set yourself up for 4 ounces. And if you have to break that down, but at least you know you're getting a minimum of 12 ounces of food a day. And then 1 month and beyond, basically, remember hydration. Phase 2 is protein. Phase 3, you're working on calories. Phase 4 is 1 month and beyond, which can start at about 21 days if you're ready. Usually people stay on soft solids 1 to 2 weeks. If you stay on it for 2 weeks, that's going to put you at a month. This is where you start adding the variety. Remember, it's 3 ounces of protein, 1 ounce of healthy fat, and 2 ounces you play with. So at 1 month, you start to try different types of vegetables, different types of fruits. People ask me about red meat. It's interesting. Some people do okay, but red meat is really hard to break down. So I usually tell people to wait 3 or 4 months before you try that. Nuts is another thing. Even though nuts are really healthy, again, a lot of people tend not to do so well. So waiting a couple months for that. Picking easier food. Raw vegetables is another thing. Again, waiting somewhere between 2 to 4 months to try raw vegetables. So sticking more with easier things to break down, like I had applesauce on there, things like peaches, if you want to do fruit. And starting with soft things, you don't want to drink the juice, but I tell people to start either with fruit in its own juice, because that fruit tends to be softer. Do that first, and then if you do well, then go to raw fruit. Vegetables, thinking things like green beans. You can do sweet potatoes. But again, it's just 1 to 2 ounces of that. So you have to make sure that you're staying within your ounces. We already talked about this. I mean, basically anything goes. You slowly want to incorporate the foods that you like. But the key is to try one new food at a time and see how you do, and try a small amount. I would start with probably 1 ounce and see how you do, and then, but because you want to, and usually you want to try it, never try a new food at home, out at a restaurant or at a friend's house, because once you get sick, it's not fun. So always try something new in a small amount and try it at home. We already talked about this, difficult to tolerate, red meats, bacon, sausage, salami, bologna, pastrami, and pepperoni, and some of your hot dogs, not all of them, they are processed meats, they are fats, they are not a protein. So a lot of times people think these things are proteins, they're not. So be mindful of those. Starches, when you can eat your 4 ounces, your 3 ounces of protein, 1 ounce of healthy fat, you can start to include starches. A lot of people think this is a no carb diet. It is not. The more you can include variety, the more likely this is going to be a lifestyle for you. Starches are not a bad thing. It's just the types you're using. It's the sugar in the starches, and we eat too much of it. Ezekiel bread is a great thing. It's made from sprouts. If you're going to use bread, bread gets really gummy, so if you toast it first, it makes it easy. 1 slice of bread is 1 ounce usually, unless you're getting those really big pieces, then they're 1.5 ounces. Anything flat is really great to start with. So like your whole grain tortillas, crackers, we already talked about oatmeal, sweet potatoes. Quinoa is a great thing. So for example, quinoa is a great alternative to rice. Rice is very high in sugar and it gets very gummy. It's very easy to have rice get stuck, rice and pasta. But quinoa is lower in the glycemic index, and it has protein in it. It has 5 grams of protein. So that causes it not to be as gummy. So it's a lot less likely to get stuck. So if you're wanting to have rice, I'd probably use quinoa instead. But just so you know, if you want to measure it out, 1 ounce of this is about 1/3 of a cup cooked. So it's literally 3 or 4 bites. It's not a lot. Some people say it's enough. Some people say, I don't even want to waste my time with that. I'd rather have something else. So, but starches are not a bad thing. You just don't want to incorporate those until you can get in 4 ounces, 3 ounces protein, 1 ounce of fat. When you can do that, you can start to add these in. We've already talked about fats. Fats are very, very important. Avocado, all your oils. And it's fun to get different ones, like, and it really makes a difference with your vegetables too. But not just, I have avocado oil, I have coconut oil, I have regular olive oil, I have white truffle oil, I have macadamia nut oil. I have a bunch of different oils, and it does change the flavor. So this is where you get creative, where you used to always cook with olive oil, you always used to cook with canola oil, which I wouldn't necessarily use, but play around and get different oils, because it does change up the flavor of things too. What else? Fats to minimize. Again, fried foods. You might, for those of you that have had gastric bypass, and even sleep patients get what they call dumping syndrome, and you can get that from anything high fat, high sugar. So if you eat fried foods or things like bacon, sausage, pepperoni, salami, and bologna, the processed fats that I talked about, you could dump from that. Mayonnaise and Miracle Whip. If you're going to do one of these, I prefer that you do mayo. It's purer than Miracle Whip, and it doesn't have the sugar in it. Ideally, I would say use Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt. It tastes the same. I mean, when I make chicken salads or I make different things, tuna salad, I make it with Greek yogurt, and nobody notices the difference. Salad dressings, again, just be mindful. Margarine and butter, again, if you're going to use one, choose butter. This is always a big debate. Butter is going to be your pure form. And again, when I say butter, I mean the stick of butter. If it's soft, like the spreadable butter, no, it's been processed. So it's a little bit, more of a pain in the butt, but the stick butter is your purest form. It's not the chemicals that are in the margarine. Food intolerances. So, um, you, most people, I mean, it's such a high number, so we just say everybody becomes lactose intolerant after surgery, so that means you can't tolerate milk. First of all, it's high in sugar, so if you've had gastric bypass or going to get duodenal switch, you can you're going to dump from regular milk. So you want to switch over to, you can do lactate-free milk if you want, because the lactose is the sugar part of the milk. You can do lactate-free, but it's still going to have sugar in it. So I recommend either almond milk, coconut milk, cashew milk, not soy milk. I do not, because it's, first of all, soy now is so processed, and it increases your estrogen levels, which you don't want that to happen, because then you're going to create a hormone imbalance, unless you're going through menopause. And when you go through menopause, your estrogens naturally drop, so doing something like soy milk would be helpful. Alcohol, this is something you have to be very careful. First of all, you're going to get drunk off of like one glass, so you absorb it a lot faster. So you need to be mindful, and you need to wait a couple of months before you have it. But again, everything in balance long term is what you're looking for. Constipation is very normal after surgery. The number one reason people are constipated is because they're dehydrated. So most people are not drinking enough fluid. So if you're constipated and it's causing a problem and you're getting cramping, drink your water, increase your fluids. The other thing you can do is incorporate fruits into your smoothies. Your berries especially have a higher fiber content. That's going to help you. And then move your body. Walking. You're supposed to be walking anyways, as much as possible. So the more you move, the more it moves your bowels and gets things, regulated. I will tell you that, because your intake is so minimal, you may go a few days without having a bowel movement, because you just don't have the excess. So that's going to be normal. Diet. Now, on the other side of that, people struggle with diarrhea. A big part of this, And a lot of this can be prevented with that probiotic. So hopefully, you know, you took your probiotic, the raw probiotic, 6 weeks pre-surgery. But some of the other things, reasons you might have diarrhea is if you had a high-fat, high-sugar diet before, in the few days before surgery, in the last probably 4 or 5 days, because that you don't have the digestive enzymes anymore to break that down, so it causes diarrhea, especially with fat. If you've had a high-fat diet prior to surgery, you're going to have problems with diarrhea afterwards. Sugar substitutes cause diarrhea. So again, if you have diarrhea after surgery, look at if you're drinking a lot of sugar-free juices, if there's sugar-free products in your protein powders, you want to stop doing that. And again, stop using berries as well, fruits and berries, because that causes diarrhea. If you do all these changes and you still, because with severe diarrhea, it can cause problems. It can cause you to be dehydrated, and we don't want that. We don't want you to end up in the hospital. You can start taking Imodium to help with that as well. Again, I already talked about the probiotic, very, very important. Also taking a digestive enzyme to help break down that food. If you're doing all of these things and you still have severe diarrhea, call your primary care physician and reach out to us sooner than later. Sometimes people will reach out to me and they're like, oh, I've had severe diarrhea for 3 days. Well, after a couple of hours and if you're eating stuff and it's going right through you, call us, you know, whether you reach out to me or Kelly, but you want to call us so we can go through things with you. Or you can just follow this. This is on your post-op packet, so you can go back to your post-op packet, or you can go to the videos and it's going to walk you through all these things. Dumping syndrome is more specifically with gastric bypass, but I'm seeing more and more sleeve patients have it as well. So again, I've already talked about this, but dumping means the food dumps right into your system, and it's usually because you've had too much sugar or too much fat, and your body does not have the digestive enzymes to break it down. And basically you get flu-like symptoms. You can get the sweats, you can get diarrhea, you can feel nauseous, but it's very uncomfortable. Most people, they've experienced it once or twice and they're very careful not to do it again. So just do not, get used to reading food labels and do not take in more than 15 grams of carbs per meal. And then the other thing is, you know, for the first couple of months, like I told you, don't go out and try to eat, you know, a fried cheese stick or fried fish or anything fried or your processed fats like bologna and salami. Just stay away from that stuff and you won't have the dumping syndrome. So if you're not already a member of our Facebook support page, this is the link. Your coordinator should be sent to you in your pre-op and post-op packets. Become a member. If you don't have a Facebook support page or a Facebook page, create one. You can put a fake name. This group is a private group. It is the quickest and best way to get in contact. Every single member, the coordinators, everybody, every staff member is on Facebook. So anytime you have a question, you can just tag us. Not only with that, but you also get great support from other people that have went through the surgery. I can't say enough about the page. Because you were on the webinar, you get a discount on our vitamins, 20%. So if you order them in the next 24 hours, you go to this link, and then you put in the coupon code SAVE20 today, and you'll get 20% off your vitamins. And this is going to be everything that you guys need for vitamins. So it's just easy. It's shipped to you. You don't have to think about it. You just have everything right there. And like I told you before, it's the Celebrate vitamins, which is what we recommend. So now I'm going to go back to the questions and make sure if there's any questions that you guys have. Let's see here. Let's look. So someone's saying aspartame is made by the same company that made Agent Orange. I don't even know what Agent Orange is. So I don't know what that means. That's from Lawrence, if you want to clarify that. Let's see. So Lawrence says, I'm concerned, had sleeve on May 8th, and I can eat, swallow, and digest just about anything without any problems. Well, Lawrence, don't be concerned about that. That's awesome. Um, so, and you're still May, June, July. You're like, I mean, you're about 2 months out, but oh, um, like I mentioned, everybody's different. Just because you can eat, I mean, be grateful that you can eat, that you're not having any problems. So, if you can eat the 6 ounces, do that. Just make sure it's the protocol of 3 ounces of protein, 1 ounce of fat, and then 2 ounces to play with. Um, let's see. I begin phase 3 tomorrow. Do you suggest trying one new food at a time? How long do I wait before introducing the next food? Yeah, the same thing. So, usually the foods that are in phase 3, the soft solids, they're not, because you're not putting, but if you're gonna, let's say you want to try egg, like a vegetable, you want to try sweet potatoes, or you want to try, you know, eggplant, something that's really soft, then yeah, just try one thing at a time and try it at home. But most of your foods, like, or even your oatmeal, yeah, and you just, it's like, so for example, you don't want to maybe try a sweet potato and chicken salad if you haven't tried either one of those. Just pick one or the other. And then the very next meal you can try something else. Because you need an hour or two afterwards, you'll know whether your body can tolerate it or not. So it's just seeing how your body does. Each person is different. Some people can tolerate eggs, some people can't, and that's why so much of this is trial and error on your guys' side. I mean, we try to give general guidelines as far as what people do best with, but you're going to see if you're on the Facebook page that a lot of people don't tolerate protein shakes, or a lot of people don't tolerate protein shakes if they have sugar-free products in them, or some people don't tolerate eggs. It's really interesting. I can eat 6 to 8 ounces 6 times a day if I let myself. Well, um, hmm. Lawrence, I would tell you to email me, and I should talk to you on the phone more about what you're eating. Because some of that could be psychological. And the mind is a very powerful thing. So uh, let's set up a time to talk on the phone, okay? I'm 15 months out and eat about 4 to 5 ounces per meal. By your presentation, I'm eating very wrong on my levels. It's so confusing. Is there a graph or list I can get that tells me how much should be protein, how much carbs, etc. for each meal? Something nice and summarized so I can understand and follow it. There's not, I mean, I can create something. I'm based on this question, I'm not 100% sure what you're looking for. I am in the process of creating meal plans, so I tell you exactly what you need, but it's pretty simple if you're weighing your food. You get 3 ounces, I mean, your goal is to have 3 ounces of protein, 1 ounce of fat, and then 2 ounces to play with. So, for example, that might be a wrap. You might get a tortilla wrap that's 1 ounce, and you will put 3 ounces of chicken in that. You might want to put an ounce of avocado, and now you have 1 ounce you can play with. You might want to put some peppers and onions. You might want to slice up some tomatoes. You know, it just varies. But the most important thing is you get 3 ounces of protein and 1 ounce of healthy fat. The other thing long term is to be mindful of your sugars. So a lot of people track their food on MyFitnessPal, and eat, making sure your sugars stay under 25 grams. As long as you're, and honestly, if you're following this protocol of 3 ounces of protein, 1 ounce of healthy fat, and 2 ounces of whatever, it can even be candy, you're going to stay under the 25 grams of sugar. The bariatric meal plan is fabulous because you get variety and you learn to get variety in a small amount. There's pretty much not anything you're going to say I can't have. It's never I can't have. It's more of a I'm only going to have, you know, whatever. Like I think like Hershey's Kisses, I think is about it's six Kisses is 1 ounce. So you get to play with a lot of different things. But I'd be more than happy to create a chart if I understood better what you were looking for. Let's see. Can you clarify again how to take the vitamins? I'm taking the ones you suggested. So you would take, so remember, it's 3 meals and 1 protein shake, even if it's all liquids when you start that phase. So whatever your first meal is, that's when you're going to take your multivitamin, you're going to take your your B12, you're going to take your B1, and any other, you might be taking biotin, extra biotin for your hair. I don't know what, but you're going to take your all your B vitamins, your probiotics naturally you eat with your food, so that's going to be with your food as well, and you might break that up and take that throughout the day, because you're taking more than one with your probiotics as well as your digestive enzymes. But your vitamins, you're going to take all your B vitamins and your multi first meal. And then meals 2, 3, and 4 are going to be your calcium and your vitamin D3. Let's see. I'm in phase 2. I ate soupy oatmeal, but thought I couldn't drink water with it. Did I hear you say during this phase we can drink with foods? You know, and that's kind of, you know, if it's soupy, like enough that it can go through a straw. I will tell you, I did say that. And I'm thinking more of like a protein shake or something, but it's really a good habit because you're not supposed to drink with your meals anyways. So a lot of times people will just continue to train themselves. You know, so if they're, you know, they just start right away. So if they're going to have oatmeal or they're going to have a protein shake, they still practice the 30-20-30. So uh, they can get all of the food in. They, even if it's in a liquid form. So yeah, I probably, it's not as big of a deal when you're actually on soft solids and solids, but it's probably better to just stay with a routine of not drinking with your meals, regardless of what it is. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So proteins are very heavy for me. If I eat 3 ounces of protein at every meal, that is all I will be able to eat. So Jennifer, I'm not sure how far out you are, but that's normal. So there's a few things. You know, I would ask, are you taking a digestive enzyme? Because you do not have the enzymes to break that down. That's the first thing. So that's why you need the digestive enzymes. Secondly, are you taking a probiotic? Did you take a probiotic 6 weeks prior to surgery? These are all things that help you prepare and get your gut really healthy to be able to handle these things. If you didn't, it's fine. You just need to start now. But the way it works is that's your first goal, is to get that protein in. That's your, after hydration, your next goal is 3 ounces of protein. You work on that. Once you can do that, then you add other things into your diet. Now that's where your shakes come in. That's where you can add the fruit in. You can add some healthy fats in there until you can expand your ounces. But very normal. That's very typical progress. Where do you suggest we look for a list of good fats and good carbs? I can create that. So, I'm going to write it down right now. But you could probably Google it. But basically, it's limited. All your oils, coconut oil, avocado, nuts, hemp seeds, or hemp protein is a good fat, olives. That's pretty much your healthy fats right there. There's not a large list. Carbs, it's just getting in the habit of looking at obviously fruits and vegetables are going to be your best carbs. If you're going to get bread, you're going to get tortillas, more like I said, Ezekiel bread. Getting used to looking at the labels and, the less chemicals it has, the less sugar it has, the more it's made from something whole, like Ezekiel bread is made from sprouts. But I can put a list together. I'll put a list together and send that out. I'm going to write it down. Okay. Any other questions, you guys? Anything I didn't answer? Of course, you have access to me 24/7 on Facebook if you're on the Facebook page. You can always email me. You can call. My extension is 133. Again, if you've already been working with Kelly, even though I'm doing the webinars, feel free, if you already are connected with her, your email, feel free to turn around and ask her questions. It doesn't necessarily have to be me. I'm just teaching the webinars, but we're both here for you guys to, for whatever you guys need in this process. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. So thank you for being on the call, you guys. I apologize. I did go 12 minutes over. But have a great day, and don't forget to use the opportunity to get that 20% off, and as long as you order your vitamins in the next 24 hours. Okay, have a great weekend. Bye.